Good afternoon. Good morning. Welcome. I'm so glad that you are here. So, when I was growing up, my grandparents were immigrants, and there was just a lot of work to do. Like, we used our hands, they owned a restaurant, and the idea of mindset was not something that got brought up. It was just the work, the work, the work. And I remember the first time I was sitting in some kind of leadership training and like people are talking about mindset, and I'm like, I don't know, what are you talking about? Like, you just got to do the work. And I have completely changed my tune because I have realized that the way we approach the work that we do has all the difference in the world in our results. And so I'm this month we've been talking about values and last month talking about faith. I really wanted to bring in somebody who loves also to talk about the mindset that we have as we approach leading ourselves, leading others, leading our teams, and all of that. So I couldn't think of anybody better to come on than my new friend, Fred Petito. He is a leadership coach. He's a speaker. He works and started Attain Leadership. And so I am so excited for you to meet him today. So let's welcome him. Hello. Thanks, Fred.
Hey, Jen, nice to see you again. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so glad that you are here with us today. I always want to give our audience a little bit about who you are and let you tell your own story. So can you give us a little bit about how you arrived in this space and starting Attain and doing the work that you do as a leadership coach?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. So I've been in marketing services for a long time. So I've held different roles like chief strategy officer, chief experience officer, head of digital integrated marketing. So I've been in these marketing roles, leading teams, building teams. And I've always enjoyed the strategic part of it, like you mentioned earlier. But I really, really got more pleasure out of the people development piece of it. And my observation from 25 years in the industry is that there could be more empathy and a little bit more support coming from executives and senior leaders. That many times they are very results oriented, and sometimes that doesn't motivate folks. So you talking about mindset and the leadership mindset, I think is a really important topic. And so that's a lot of when we're coaching leaders or coaching C-levels, it's not just about the functional skill, right? It's not just about the technical skill. It's also about the ability to connect and to motivate and inspire others. And so that for many times is not necessarily something people think about. They mostly think about technical proficiency, and that as we know, as you get more senior in an organization, that technical proficiency becomes less and less important, and your ability to inspire and motivate and get people to do things that they wouldn't otherwise do is really the skill that matters.
Absolutely. I don't know about you, and I'm curious the people who are listening if you've ever had this experience where either you have been promoted because you're really good at graphic design or you're excellent at accounting, and then or you've had the boss that gets promoted because they're the top performer, and then all of a sudden everything starts to fall apart because the skill of leading is a different skill than the skill of marketing. It's like they're different. And I'm curious to the people listening if you've ever had that, like, oh, now I'm here and I got to do it. Or you've had the person promoted, just like, wait, this feels so different. Do you find that with the organizations you work with as well?
Yeah, I mean, that is probably the genesis of executive coaching, starting with Marshall Goldsmith, like 20 years ago, whenever he wrote the book, "What got you there won't got you here won't get you
Won't get you
there,"
there.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
And the core concept of that book was that you were an amazing sales executive, or you're a fantastic engineer, and that's great. Now you're a general manager or a division president or whatever, and you're leading a group, leading a team. The skills that got you here are not going to get you there, right? So that's all about the development gap that exists. And I think that's fair to say that there are a lot of executives and a lot of organizations that elevate executives that don't think of that development piece. And that's where people like you and I come in, and others, of course. But I sometimes I do speak to organizations like, oh, we're set with training. But development is not the same as training.
Mm,
Again, development
yes.
is about training is about learning technical skills, functional skills, being a better analyst, being a better, whatever, graphic designer, like you said. Development is so much more multidimensional, and so it's a different skill set.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about what you think of as mindset. I think it's a word that gets thrown around a lot. I think also, especially, when we're doing what we're doing all the time, like we're involved in talking about mindset, I think sometimes it's easy for me to forget that
Hmm.
other people don't delve into this every day. And so when you define mindset, and what are you thinking about when you're
Yeah.
talking about
Hmm.
mindset and leadership?
Yeah, I think of mindset as an important pillar of leadership, and I think I was thinking about the topic, and there's a few places where I think mindset fits and is thought it should be a key aspect of maybe a broader relationship concept. And the first one is, if anybody's familiar with the leadership challenge, they talk about 5 different practices, and one of the first practices is about creating an inspiring vision, right? So
Mhm.
so people need to feel inspired, and you can't inspire people if you don't have the right attitude and mindset about what it is you want to inspire them about. So
Mhm.
I think that it's like, mindset is a key attribute of that model. Another thing that I've been kind of working with for a while now and this might sound a little counterintuitive, but the concept of positive psychology and leadership is a really important topic. And positive psychology has been around for about 20-25 years, and it's a fairly new area of psychology. But really what it's all about is it's bringing the right mindset to any your life, but also you think about it in the context of a leader. Um, and um, the 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 model of positive psychology, the practice of it is based on five practices, 5 principles. It's called the PERMA model. And if
Mm.
everybody ever heard of Martin Seligman, he's kind of the granddaddy of positive psychology, but there's many researchers. But it's the PERMA: P, positive emotions. E is engagement. So that means engagement with the world around you, right? The people around you, your peers, your colleagues, those in your organization or in your ecosystem. Relationships, right? The importance of strong relationships is the R. M is meaning, right? So having purpose and meaning is a really
Mm.
important aspect of positive psychology. And then the A is accomplishment. So you think of that PERMA model, and that fits really beautifully into what makes for really effective organizational leaders, right? Team leaders,
Mhm.
leaders, people are leading a social organism, if you will. And so um, I think I like to think of mindset as kind of the the underpinning, if you will, of that PERMA model. So you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to have positive emotions, right? Positive emotions and mindset it's a two-way street, right? You need to
Mhm.
have both. And I would say it probably starts with emotions, and then emotions manifest in a positive mindset. If you're not engaging with the people around you, you're not going to know what your mindset is, right? so,
Yeah,
so it's
because
a
we can think all kinds of things in our own mind
right,
until you
right,
see it
right,
reflected
right.
back. Ah!
Yeah, yeah. And the relationship part is obvious and critical, especially in organizations. And people today don't want leaders or managers. They want a coach. They want somebody to inspire. They want them to help them achieve the best version of themselves. So
Mhm.
that relational aspect is key. I think meaning is really interesting. And when
Yeah.
you think about and there's so much research out there about the importance of purpose and meaning in life, whether it's for anybody. It's just so much research about the importance of having a sense of purpose. And so if you have that sense of meaning, if you have that sense of purpose, I think your mindset naturally follows.
Mhm.
So I guess one of the things I would observe about just this conversation we're having is I think mindset, um, many times you don't say to yourself, I need a positive mindset. It's the other things that get you to a positive mindset,
Yeah,
right? Right. And
absolutely.
and so when you think about coaching people, we coaches unpack things. You dig into things, and so you don't coach somebody and say, we're going to work. I want you to have a positive mindset. We're going to figure out the things that you need to do to get to a positive mindset.
I agree. I think there's, the thing that when I'm thinking about mindset and when I'm speaking or when I'm working with teams, mindset encompasses all these things that you were just talking about. And it's really part of the key of self-awareness. Like that
Hmm.
I need to know what I'm thinking in my own mind, because my thoughts determine so much of what I do. And like
Hmm.
you said, there's a symbiotic relationship between emotions and your mindset. And if you've got your emotions going all over the place, or you've shoved them in a box and they
Yeah.
don't have any role, neither one of those places is healthy, but you don't know why, because you
Hmm.
you haven't had the time to really think about how you're thinking, that metacognitive
Yeah.
piece
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
mindset work. You can't just say, be this way. There is a
Yeah.
process we work people through. And so this month I've been talking a lot about values, and I think that's where that meaning comes from. We
Hmm.
we already have values inside, but it's the work of identifying them and then the process
Absolutely.
of
Yeah.
using them. And I'm hosting a
Hmm.
retreat later next month, and that's one of the things we're going to be doing, is digging into those values, because they're already there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so when you are thinking about helping leaders, really start to work on some of these pillars,
Hmm.
what's a great place for people to start? You're like, I've always heard about mindset. I know I need a quote unquote better mindset. That's really unhelpful.
Yeah.
And so what's a place for people to start where they can really grab onto that?
Yeah, I think so. Just kind of reiterate a point is that, or maybe another way of looking at it is many times people don't know. And I'll use the example of what makes them happy. People don't. The research will say, like, people think they know what makes them happy, but the research says not so much. And the things that you think would make you happy don't really make you happy or people happy. Same thing with a mindset, right? And there are things that it's kind of like getting your internal house in order, if you will. So I think starting with purpose, like you talked about values, like what is important to you as a person, and if you're a leader, you need to be able to kind of identify those values or that sense of purpose and meaning, because that's where your authenticity comes from. That's where your real being lies, as opposed to, following. Now, that doesn't mean if you're bored or your CEO has a certain direction and strategy, you need to embody that, but you need to find a way to make it align with what's important to you as a
Yeah.
person,
And
and you need to be
relationships
able to
with
translate
people.
that.
Like you said, relationships with people, the authenticity of who you are, that's how we connect to other people. It's
Hmm.
such an
Hmm.
important part.
Yeah. I think with mindset also, and I think of mindset sometimes in the context of goal directed, type
Mm.
behavior. But I think it's starting to think about how you control the things you can control and let go of the things you cannot control,
Oh my gosh,
right?
you just need to
And
say that again. Just say it one more
yeah,
time, because I think we
yeah,
really need to dig that in.
yeah. Dominate the controllables, right? Dominate the controllables. If you can't, figure out a go workaround or just accept it, and don't push that boulder up the hill consistently. Um, I think it's also about choosing empowering emotions, and this is not easy for. I know sometimes I've struggled with that myself. It's like,
Oh,
how do you respond? It goes to what's the thing? Don't let the external, don't let uncontrollable external events control your internal peace of mind, if you will. So
mhm.
that takes work, right? That takes
So much
practice, and
work.
that's what coaches do, right? They
Mhm.
they they help people self reflect on their feelings, their thoughts, their emotions, their behaviors, and help them shine a mirror on themselves to get greater insight, self insight, and self awareness, self learning. Um, I think the idea of also, uh, you know, showing up, owning the moment, showing up in a
Mm.
way that is appropriate and present for the situation. Um, and I'd say the final thing is probably kind of, people talk about superpowers, people talk about, whatever, but it's like, what's that courage zone? What's that place where you
Mm.
feel most confident? and
Yeah,
and it's okay not to have, everybody can't be confident and courageous in every domain of leadership or work. You need
right.
to, like, be honest with yourself about where I thrive, where I succeed, and where I need to rely on my partners, the people on my team or my colleagues. And so it's just kind of being honest with yourself about, what you're good at, what you're great at, what you're not so great at, and it's a team. This is all about teamwork. So that's
Absolutely. Yeah, I
expected.
think there's that fallacy that I think is still so out. I think it's so ingrained in our American kind of bootstrap culture that
Yeah,
the leader has to know all the things. Well, if you don't know all the things, then you can't lead. And even though when we say that out loud, we logically know that's not true. But I think it's so ingrained in us that we have to fight against that. And that idea that actually the transparency of here's what I'm really great at, here's what I'm working on, and I don't know if I'm ever going to be good at that. Like the whole Gay Hendricks zones of genius. Like
yeah,
I want to be operating in the top things that I do, not please don't make me do accounting. This is why I just hired a bookkeeper.
yeah,
Like those are not
yeah.
the things that I want to be doing as a leader in my business.
Absolutely.
And like just saying that over and over again, I think in the world of like the leader doesn't have to know all the things, but you have to know the things that you don't know. And
Yeah.
that's a way to move forward. Okay. Oh my gosh. It is time for us to stop. Every time I'm so shocked. I keep trying to look at the time. There's so many more questions I would love to ask you. So how can we stay connected with you? Where can we find you? Where do you hang out?
Yeah.
How can we stay with you?
Yeah. Fred Petito. I'm at on LinkedIn, of
Mm-hmm.
course. That's probably the best place to connect. My website is our website, attainleadership.com.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then my email is fred@attainleadership.com. So those are three pathways to connect.
Awesome. I'm so grateful for your time. Thanks for coming on today. I really appreciate it. We are usually here live every week at 1 p.m. Eastern, but next Monday is a holiday. So we're going to take a week off next week, and then we will be back the following week with Nina, continuing this conversation about leadership and self-leadership and values. So please stay tuned. If you are catching this later, feel free to comment. We will come back and answer questions, or you can always catch the podcast that comes out on Thursdays. Thanks so much for being here today, Fred.
Thanks so much, Jen. Nice to meet
Bye,
you.
everybody.
So let me put my coach hat on for just a sec. Don't just leave this here. Take a moment. What did you learn? What's your next tiny action step? Share this episode with someone and tell them. Connect with us to keep this conversation going. As always, I'm Jen Whitmer. Thank you for listening to Joyosity. I don't take for granted that your earballs have a lot of information coming at you. Please take a moment to rate and subscribe. It really helps more people join us in creating positive culture with complex people. So work is a joy, people are whole, and organizations flourish. Can't wait for you to join us next week.